I'm Eden, and this is my dad Noah, and for 150 episodes, we've been sitting on my bed and having a conversation about something we want to talk about. And this week, we're going to talk about what we love about the podcast together.
Episode 150. So we've been doing this for 3 years. We started this in April of 2020 when we left New York for a few months during the pandemic. And when we came back, we've just been sitting on your bed and having a conversation about something we want to talk about. So to celebrate, I think it's a good topic to celebrate and talk about the lessons, some lessons learned. It's a milestone.
Yeah.
So what have you learned, and what do you like?
I'm going to start with what I like, and then I'm going to move on to what I've learned.
Okay.
So one thing that I like, it doesn't always follow for all of our topics, but for some of our bigger ones, and just some of our ones like that, how I handle some, like our gun law is one that we talked about a few episodes ago, or our...
You're talking about like serious topics,
or just how I handle some things, like some situations.
So what do you like about those?
What I like about those is that I can talk about them, and other people can hear how I handle something, and that can help and it can be helpful to others, which I really like. Yeah,
and I think it would also be helpful if people who are watching or listening would on Apple Podcasts specifically, it's best if you can go in there and comment and let us know how you would handle these things, or how your kids would handle those things, or maybe you write out a response together with your child.
Nice.
I think that would be helpful, so that then we can do some more learning also.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what else?
And also, what I was going to say was, I think one thing I've learned is just a bunch of conversation skills from this podcast, a bunch of skills that I've learned by doing this.
Like what?
Is that one of the things that you talk about is about, it's a follow-up, asking follow-up questions, and you can have a great conversation by listening. I think I've learned how to have a conversation by asking questions and listening to what the person says, and asking follow-up questions to them.
Okay, and one of the reasons why we're doing this was to, we started this when you're 5 years old, you're 8 now, and so that you can have conversations with other kids and also with adults. And it's important to listen, because there are times that when we'll hear a conversation or someone talking to you, and then in our heads we're thinking, all right, well, that's a natural follow-up question, just ask it. It's a matter of not just, because then you might ask us afterwards and we say, well, why don't you just ask that person?
Right.
So it's not just a matter of knowing what to ask, it's having the confidence to ask it. And you're not to be okay with asking an adult another question.
Right.
Yeah, that's it's very important, or an adult or a teenager or something, to assert yourself, to put yourself out there, to ask a real question. And even simple questions, like when someone says, what did you do last night? You answer your question.
What did you do?
What did you do? And, we went out to dinner. Oh, where did you go? What did you have? Have you been there? Have you been there before? Do you think I would like it? You can have real conversations that way. And that's one of the reasons why we do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what I like is that we talk about important topics, I think, and how we talk about them from our view, because I like how other people sometimes, like I'm rarely on what I said before, but it's not just always. Sometimes I like how when I hear it from someone else's view, but it's not always, let's say, talking about gun violence, but it's not a politician's view, always. When you're hearing, like when you hear about, let's say, just even like what do you call it? Like nonviolent protest, even, and just hearing, because not all protests need to be violent, but
of course not.
When you hear from what they are, because they're not politicians, but they want their ideas heard. But sometimes just thinking about other people's ideas and sometimes hearing your ideas on stuff, and just I like how other people can also hear our ideas, and it's not always just the big people.
Right. So that, and it's something that we discussed a little bit this week when you were writing a short essay about making sure that everybody's voices are heard.
Right.
So it's a way to have your voice heard, and these days anyone can have a voice heard. And
right.
Sometimes that's dangerous because some of the voices are lunatics.
But
but everyone can have their voice heard for better or for worse.
Yeah, and so, I think it's important that everybody's voices are heard, but especially kids' voices also.
I agree with that because there are a lot of people who are making decisions for everybody who don't really understand everybody.
Like,
they have other
they're
interests.
making decisions for everybody, but they aren't everybody.
Yeah, sure.
They aren't everybody, but they're making
nor do they relate to everybody.
Right.
So a lot of our topics come from the news. Also, I
think it's important that we talk about those.
I agree, and I think one of the things that is nice is to be able to show you that we can have conversations, that a topic can come out of something that maybe you didn't even think could be a podcast topic, could be a conversation point. So, like in school, when you were doing a group project, we can have a conversation about what it's like working in a group.
And talking about leadership.
Yeah, exactly. So there are things to parse out of and break out of an experience that you can actually have a conversation about.
And it's nice. Just one thing I like is that we think of topics, and some of them aren't really big, but we can find how you have a conversation out of that.
Yeah, sure. You can have a conversation about anything.
Anything, and if you look, it's like if you actually look into it, like look through it.
Mm-hmm.
Push back barriers of the topic.
Well, of an experience or a situation, you can get a topic.
Get in it.
Yeah.
And you can talk about much more than just the one sentence you think of first.
Mm-hmm. I think there are a few things that, aside from what you said, that I take away from it, is that this is a commitment. So it's, I've always said to you, like, if you want to just not do this anymore, don't do it anymore.
Right.
But it's something that I really enjoy doing with you. I think you enjoy doing it with me.
I do.
And it's a commitment. So you have okay, I'm doing this every week, so it's something I can think about during the week, and I can think of a topic, and it's something you might even look forward to, and so and that will go a long way later in your life as you move forward, that you stick to a commitment. It's almost like having a job, but it's something that you enjoy. So maybe, hopefully, for your job in your career, it'll be something that you enjoy, and it doesn't just feel like something I have to do. And you've stuck with it. I mean, we've done this we've only missed, I think, a few weeks over the past 3 years, maybe for vacation or I was away or something. I mean, that's 150 episodes. Most people who say, "Oh, I could do a podcast," and I've talked to people about this before. People who do a podcast say, "Oh yeah, I have something to talk about." Then they do the first podcast, and they're like, "Whew, man, that was a lot." And then you might not see another one for a month.
Right.
So there's no consistency. So you have to be committed to it.
Go ahead.
On to
that?
Yeah.
And I think a great example of being committed is, I remember when once you were sick, and we still did it over Zoom.
Oh yeah.
You were in the other room.
Right.
But we're really committed to the podcast because it's something we enjoy, and it's something that we want to keep up because we like doing it together.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's something we enjoy looking forward to every week.
Right, exactly. And as long as we continue to see your thoughtfulness and maturity, then we'll continue to do it. And I hope there are times in your head as you're either speaking with friends or adults or anything, in your head you can think about some of the lessons that we've learned here and move you forward in life, like in day-to-day life. And I don't ever want you to feel ashamed or embarrassed to ask certain questions or move the needle forward in a respectful way. And something else that I cherish about this is that this is a time capsule for us. We're gonna have these records for ever.
Right.
Just gonna make sure they're constantly saved and updated and stored in different places. So this is a time capsule of however many number of years you want to do this together. But even if you said tomorrow, I don't want to do this anymore, we have, which I hope you don't, we have 150 episodes, so 3 years worth of weekly conversations. So you can see how you've grown physically, how your voice has changed, how your thoughts have changed, how you present yourself. And when we started this at the beginning of the pandemic, Ted Price at Vocal, and unfortunately Vocal's not around, but Ted was extremely gracious to help us get started. And I can't thank him and his team enough for pushing us in this direction, to put on the camera and do it. And we just started with coronavirus. And then we talked about...
And then we actually taught viewers how to play Crazy 8.
Right, the card game. Yeah.
Everyone to know, you can go back to episode 2.
So we've been able to find these topics and whatever has been on our mind at certain times. And there are some conversations that we're just not ready to have yet.
Right.
But we will. And the next 150 episodes, you're gonna be 11 years old.
Yeah.
When that happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't even picture it. What you're gonna be, what you're gonna look like, what you're gonna be talking about at 11 years old.
Yeah.
And this summer, when you're going to overnight camp,
you're gonna have to take a little break for 7 episodes.
Right. But I think Mom and I might talk about what you're doing,
what's happening
or
at camp,
how we're missing you, or what it's like to have dinner after 7 o'clock every night. You know, things like that. Maybe.
The last one I thought was an interesting topic. I don't know what you would talk about with that, but
I get it. But you continue to be a plus podcast partner and daughter. So congratulations on 150 episodes.
You too.
Thanks. I love you.
Love you.